Alright, so basically, as a quick little tutorial for using the Anycubic slicer, this is what I'm going to do because I actually want one of these. So I went ahead and downloaded that shit, and then I'm going to move it over to my 3D file that I have on my computer. And so then what I'm going to do now is extract it, which I'm pretty sure you know how to do. Right. So now I get, I open up the file. So the file is going to pop up. And so for Anycubic, it's relatively simple. Like this would print right here flat on the plane. You're looking at the axis, it's flat. All of this would print out. And so that would be pretty straightforward. I would review my settings, make sure you click the right machine. If you're not using Anycubic resin, then you're going to want to make a resin profile. You're going to want to make sure that you type in what type of resin it is. That way you know. Of course, there's dental and plant, which is a little bit different. You can put in your price per milliliter or gallon. And that way it'll calculate during the slicing process how much it may cost you. But then right here is, of course, your normal time exposures. If you're using off-brand resin, then you definitely want to make sure that you change these settings to whatever the manufacturer sets. If you use Anycubic resin, it should automatically do it based off of the machine that you have. But again, if you're using an off-brand resin or something different, because they have a better color or whatever it is, then you may want to make sure that you adjust this. In terms of what the speed is, I know that you could change quite a bit more, but I really don't mess with that. I haven't really had an issue with it, but if you're doing something different, then you probably could change a lot of that. But because I'm using Anycubic resin, I just kind of leave it the same, and then they haven't enabled any of the web printing stuff yet for my machine. So none of that's done. So that one's pretty straightforward. You could just hit slice on this one and it'll slice it. You don't have to worry about it. I'll just save it in my prints folder. And it'll just go through and finish slicing it. And it'll give me the potential time frame as well as the amount of, the cost of goods and services, or the cost per gallon or milliliter of what it's going to cost me to make this. Someone hurry up! I'm tired. So while that's doing that, let me see here. Let me find one that I actually have to adjust. Let's see here. So for this one, when this is done, alright, so this is what the sliced file looks like. And basically this is the exposure base. This is what's going to start. And then it's going to over time build out. So it'll take about 5 hours and 47 minutes as indicated right here and right here. It'll cost me $2 to print it and less than 100 milliliters of resin. And it will just slowly over time expose what it needs to expose. So of course this is the base, continues to be solid until those open up. That's what are going to be the wells for the paint. It continues to go, and then boom, right there it stops printing the top layers of the base because now it starts to do the stand for the paintbrushes. And so then it just goes over and exposes over time, and then it's done. Right, so that was pretty straightforward. There's really not a whole lot there. But if I wanted to do a ring, like the Green Lantern ring with no support, and I could do this. However, as you can see here, the exposure for it is going to be right here on this base. And so it's going to probably fail because there's not going to be a whole lot holding the ring. And so some files will have the support already tacked into it. But we can go right here to move. We just move it off the base a little bit. It depends on how high you want to go. For the resin printer, the higher that you go, the longer it's going to take. In terms of completion. Also, you don't want to do it too high because the support still has to be strong enough. And these resin supports are actually pretty flimsy and weak. So I just bring it a little bit above. I go to the support settings. Here you can manually add supports. So if you click on that add, and then you come through here, it'll show you what kind of like the pain points are on where a lot of the stress is going to be for this. And so that's where all the red is. You can see here, like there's stress inside of here, blah, blah, blah. What makes it way easier is if you just hit generate all supports. You can even click off the hollow mesh if you want to have solid supports. That'll probably help from failing a lot quicker. But I just leave hollow mesh on for something small like this. And then supports all. And boom, there it is. There's the supports. They're auto generated. However, these still look kind of thin, so there may be some failure. I would probably add some more in here just to be on the safe side. Right, because I don't want it to fail. And I could always sand that down later. Boom, just add a couple more. Now it's probably less likely to fail. Again, anything's possible. So that's done. Don't have to stress out too much about that. Now all the support is in red because it's not part of the actual model. However, it will attach to the model, and then you slice it, right? Okay, all the printing parameters have been completed, yes. You know, if you want to make it bigger, right, you can increase the scale right here, fit maximum, boom. Like now you have this big ass ring, which I don't want. So Control Z that back down to normal. But you could also potentially just drag it, drop it, whatever fits your fancy. You can mirror it if you wanted to like do some weird mirror thing with it. I'm not entirely sure what exactly that does, to be honest. But oops. But yeah, so I would just leave it like that. You can do multiple copies of it. So we'll just duplicate that. So if you wanted to make a bunch of them, like there you go. Right. So now this is set up to do a bunch of them. You can select all, move them around so that way they fit better onto the plate, the printing plate. Boom, now I can make what? 8 of them at once. So let's just say hypothetically I was going to make 8 of them. They're all ready with the support. Don't have to stress out too much about it. Settings are still the same. I don't have to change them every time, again, because I'm using the same type of resin and stuff. For this, I'd use the green resin, so I may switch it to clear. Again, that really just because of the price. If I wanted to do my green transparent, again, it's still a basic resin. It's still per milliliter. I'm buying the 1 liter, or kilogram, I mean. And then I think the price right now for this one is like $19.50 on Amazon. Right, save that, transparent green. So now it's gonna give me a better calculation of what the potential price is gonna be. Save it into my 3D prints file. And boom, it'll just kick it out right now. Like I said, if it's higher, if it's lower in terms of the plane, then it's going to print faster no matter how many you have. So it's going to, cost me 70 cents to make all 8 of these, and it's going to take about an hour and 16 minutes. And this is all, again, the base, and you can see as it goes from the base, it expands the base to make it solid. Boom, it's going to start making the ring. Here's the outline for the ring, and then all these little dots are where the supports go. And over time, the ring gets bigger, fatter as it bevels out. Boom, right here. Actually, those are still the supports, I believe. Yeah, that's all the supports still. And then boom, right here's the bottom of the ring as it starts to make it, and it's going above where all these supports are. And you just keep going, and you can see here where these supports begin to attach, right here. It's like a time lapse, and then they begin to attach. And each one of these is a frame of exposure. Boom. You can see where the details are all being made right here. Right, and they're all basically exactly the same. because it's the same design. And you see where each one of these kind of goes, closes off, the ring begins to bevel out, and it's done. And that'll be the last frame right there. It'll finish, and then it's done. So yeah, that's just like a quick slicing tutorial. So hopefully it helps save your prints.